John Crestani's success story is inspirational, and with that goal in mind, John has made it his mission to spread the word of freedom and to tell you that there are many ways to achieve your biggest dreams in life without having to walk into the modern problems of our society. During his journey, John has not only done a handful of TV interviews on CBS, Fox, and NBC, but he has also been featured by Forbes, Entrepreneur, Now This News, and so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, give me a warm hand in welcoming John Crestani.
Awesome. Happy to be here.
Hey man, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. It's another beautiful day out here in California.
Honestly, what I wouldn't do to go back to California again, man. You should see the weather outside my window. It's just been a terrible, cloudy summer. If you want to send some sun over here, that'd be great. Thank you. Awesome, man. So I guess, to start off, for the people here watching this video, obviously they don't really know who you are. So if you wouldn't mind telling people a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. I'm an internet entrepreneur. I'm also a YouTuber, and I have an internet business. I don't have any employees or any technical skills, but we do about $7 million per year. And I like traveling. I'm really big into traveling the world, kite surfing, and flying helicopters. And
as you do, yeah.
That's it.
It's awesome, man. So, tell me, with everything that's happened and the success that you have now achieved, this obviously didn't happen overnight. And there was obviously a lot of things that happened in your life to build up, from the very beginning to where you are now. So I guess the question I have for you is, at what point in your life did you realize you needed to follow a new path, which is the one you're currently on?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely been a rocky road. Mm-hmm. I guess I was like partway through college. I was just kind of getting bored of going to college, frankly, and I didn't feel like I was learning anything, and I just felt like I was kind of being useless, and I had decided to take some time off from college and read a lot of books to kind of figure out what I wanted in life. And I read this one book which talked about, this guy was talking about how he was, traveling the world, and he had an internet business. And I read the book and I was like, that's what I want to do. I was basically like, I want to travel the world. I want to work for myself. I don't want to work for a boss or anything. Everybody worked, in the corporate world just seems so depressed.
You're living the dream, man. That's exactly, and it's very inspirational that you're doing that, because, I totally get that. I worked 7 jobs once upon a time. Awful working for other people who and you don't feel respected. And no. you gotta, and a lot of people don't seem to realize they're not only they're giving up their time that they could be using to focus on themselves, right?
I worked 10 different jobs before, just side jobs and internships before I left college, and I wouldn't say there's a single one of them which really made me excited to get up in the morning and go to work.
Yeah, I can relate with you 100% on that, and I think a lot of people can relate with that as well. So John, with all that in mind, tell us your story. What is the story of John Crestani?
So I could start with how after I made this decision, which was like an epiphany at the time, I was like, wow, I could work for myself, and I thought it was so cool. Unfortunately, that turned into me, trying to start my own businesses over years, and I left college, and none of them worked out. And what I actually did, because I was so dead set, I told my family I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I told my friends I'm not getting a job. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm leaving college, and I ended up unfortunately becoming a medical guinea pig. And at the time, I thought it was really cool. I could basically, I was a human test subject, and it paid really well. I was making, maybe, after leaving college, I was making $6,000 to $8,000 a month to just kind of sit around in hospital beds. And there were a lot of cute nurses around, and they had Xbox, and all you'd have to do is like take a pill like once or twice a day, and the rest of the time you're just kind of sitting around and having your blood measured or whatnot. And for me, at the time when I was like 21 years old, I was like, this is awesome. I'm making I'm making pretty good money, and I can use all that money to like spend on starting an internet business. But unfortunately, I thought it was really cool, but the reality was first off, it wasn't good for my health. I'd end up throwing up sometimes, because these were experimental drugs. It was also really depressing because I really lost a lot of my friends during that process, and my family, I don't know, like nobody would, like conversations got weird because people, when people asked what I did, I felt too embarrassed to tell anybody that I was a medical guinea pig. And they're saying, hey, John, you left college. Do you have a job? And I'm just kind of like, no. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm trying to build a business. And they're like, how's it going? And I'm like, it's, I'm trying. And everybody just kind of, so family members stopped talking to me. I was seen as the black sheep, and whereas everybody else that was leaving college, they're talking about their jobs they're getting, or they're saying, oh, I just got this internship at this really good company, and I even remember, but it was so weird because I was getting ostracized by everybody I knew slowly but surely because I was just failing and failing and failing. And I remember one time when I was at some bars with some of my friends, and a girl asked me what I did, and I thought it was kind of funny that I was, that I made money as a medical guinea pig, and I said, I'm a human test subject, and I don't have to work a job, and she just looked at me and she said, that's pathetic. And I was like,
ooh, damn.
Yeah.
Ooh. And
like,
for people who've watched a lot of my content, know I've been through some bad dating situations. Oof, that's rough though.
That was rough, and and there were a series of situations like that happened with girls. I mean, I was renting an apartment for $500 a month. I was subletting a room from somebody who was unfortunately addicted to drugs. I guess that's why the room was so cheap in Santa Monica. But for me, I was in and out of hospital, so I was like, oh, I just need a place to store my stuff. And I remember bringing a girl back there one time, because once again, I'd met a pretty girl, and I was like, I was kind of stoked. We kind of went on a date, but then we came back to my place, and she sat down on the edge of the bed, and then she told me, I'm feeling sick, or she had some excuse like, oh, I have a stomach ache. And I was just like, this was going down, and she thinks my situation is so pathetic that like she's just bouncing.
Right.
And that was, that lack of, dealing with all of that, losing friends, losing, being kind of the black sheep of my family, and, girls just not digging anything. And I'm a 22 or 21 or 22-year-old guy. It really started taking a toll on me. And I ended up getting a job, and after a few studies where I threw up, because it was, the drugs had a reaction on me.
Right.
I kind of realized that this is, I gotta be realistic and go get a job, because it wasn't working out as an entrepreneur.
That's insane. And I said this to you earlier, but I mean, like, I've never met anybody that's been like a medical guinea pig. You always hear about it, but I mean, you've lived that. And I mean, I think it's such an interesting, I think that's so interesting that, like, you've been through that and being put in that situation where people just started, like you said, ostracizing you because you were hustling. You were doing a side hustle, just in a way I guess is just frowned upon in some sense, or that's how they treated it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Sorry, but I'll let you continue, because there's obviously a lot more to this story.
I mean, what I ended up doing after this was, like, all during this time, like in between studies, because studies would be anywhere from like a day to a few weeks, where I'd be in the hospitals. But in between, I would be going to all of these like motivation, like business seminars around LA, or like how to start an internet business, or how to be an entrepreneur, or how to invest in real estate. Anything I could go to. There's guys on stage saying, hey, you can make a ton of you can make a ton of cash, like do this or do this. And I just went because they were free, and I was hoping to learn something. But through going to all of those things, I ended up meeting a few people that were kind of regulars, and I remember this one guy. His name was David Yeager. He was Jewish, he had the curly, we kept in touch via email, and I said, hey man, do you know anybody who has jobs? I'm looking for a job, and the entrepreneur thing isn't fully working out just yet. And he had a job in an internet company, which was great, because I was trying to learn how to start an internet company. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, this is a great situation. And I said, yeah, I'll go to work for the internet company. And I got hired there, and I did pretty, I started, I really took, like, I was still kind of running my I was trying to figure out how to run a business, start my own business on the side. But, I kind of focused on doing really good in the job as well, and learning everything I could about how to start, an internet, my own internet business. Mm-hmm. And, 2 years went by. I moved up into, I got a better job offer in another company. I'd become the director of marketing. I had, employees working underneath me. I had an assistant, and I started doing pretty well because I was learning very rapidly, and I already had a base of knowledge. So, I was managing, what I was doing was I was managing people's ads on Google. I was managing other businesses that wanted to advertise on Google. I was placing their ads and writing their ads and editing images and creating websites. Mm-hmm. And I got really good at it. And I remember I had made, the last 6 months before I quit my job, I went to my boss and I said, hey, I won't use his name, but I said, hey, can I set up a meeting with you? I want to talk about my future here. And we had a meeting, and I had made this guy about $800,000. I'd made his company and him personally about $800,000 profit in the 6 months that I'd been working for him. And we both knew it was a lot of money, and we both knew that I had become an invaluable employee mm-hmm. to the business by just how good, I was doing at marketing his clients.
Right.
And I went to him and I said, hey, I'm wondering if there's a way that, I really like working this job. I feel like I'm doing well. I'm wondering if we can have some sort of like incentive plan or bonus, or if I can get a raise, because right now there isn't anywhere for me to move up in the organization. I'm already, I want to have a path to grow because I'm really liking this. And I remember he listened to my spiel. I had a little kind of presentation, and it was very, very reasonable, and I didn't name any specific numbers. I was just looking for some sort of incentive plan or something. And I remember he's sitting there, and he's sitting back in his chair, and he's very kind of big, and he's got a lot of extra weight in him. He's got big guy, just scruffy, and he looks at me and he says, "Or else what?"
Wow. Really?
And I had prepared for 2 weeks for this meeting, and I talked to different people. I talked to my parents. I said, what do I do? I'm gonna ask for a raise. And they said, be prepared for any question he throws at you. He's gonna make you justify it. You're gonna have to really be prepared. And I was prepared for every other question he could have said. He could have said, oh, what justifies this? Or why would this help? How would this help the company? Or I was prepared for everything. And except him saying, or else what?
So he just completely shuts you down.
He just completely shut me down. And I was just personally, I wanted to reach across the desk and strangle his fat neck.
I quit!
Yeah, I know. That's what I wanted to do. But what was going through my brain was everything that society had taught me, growing up was, it was, go to school, get good grades, take AP courses, get into a good college, pick a good major, do internships, get a job, arrive early, stay late, work your way up the ladder. I was doing, and I had briefly, I had given up on my entrepreneurial dreams. I had just gone with the plan, what I call, option A. And I had gone with the plan, and I was there inside of me. I was like, wow, I might actually have a future in this, this kind of normie, I call it the normie system. And it was just a shot back to reality. It was no. It was
yeah.
There's no opportunity for you here. And I don't know if my experience was just bad, but it left me so confused and depressed because I had been getting so excited about I was suddenly respected again, and I thought I was having success after having so many years of failure. I was making a little bit of money. I was the director of marketing. I was making above average salary for my age, definitely. And I had an assistant, and I had a little modicum of respect, and people were, thinking I'm a little bit important again. And it was just sad hearing that there was no future there. And but in hindsight, it led me back to what I believe my true north is, which is really, I'm, being an entrepreneur, and, it really brought me back to that. And, I don't regret a single thing that's happened. So.
Well, I think I really respect that. I can't say I ever got in a situation like that where, a boss shutting you down after so much work that you've put for them. But, I definitely know what it's like to feel oppressed and unappreciated in a way. And, for people just not to respect you, especially in the workplace. And I think there's so much opportunity for everybody, but, like you said, society just teaches you how to live a certain way that's almost just oppressive to your dreams.
Yeah.
And I think, there was a moment where, you know, you finally, so like something snapped within you, and you just kind of woke up and realized this reality is just kind of like not how it should be.
It's not, you know, it's based on what was happening in the 50s, the 60s, you know, it's you know, the world is so different now, you know. It used to be people have a job for 40 years. So, you know, I guess, yeah, you know, at that point, you know, that when I went home that day, I decided, you know, I said, I'm going to quit within 3 months. I'm going to quit this. I'm going to fight tooth and nail. I'm going to create an income. You know, I'm going to really get my business to make me enough money to quit my job, you know, my side hustle. And I rededicated to myself to that, and I did it. You know, I quit my job 3 months later, and the rest, you know, the rest is history. You know, I'm living a good life now, and but I really believe that I really believe that there's more than just one path. You know, it's not just to go to college and get a job path. I believe there's more paths open to people that people need to explore, because I believe that one path is being sold to, you know, the rest of the world as the only path, and that's not true, and it's not for everyone, and it's not true, and there are other options available, I guess, is, you know, the big thing that I learned, and I you know, maybe some others will take from this as well.
It's amazing, man. You know what, John? You've said so much, and your story is, not only is it relatable and unique, but it's super impactful. And, you know, that leaves me off, I think, with the very last question I have for you, which is,
sure,
what impact do you want to have on this world?
I'd say, you know, I'd say I want to, I like challenging paradigms. Okay, I really like challenging the norm. I think I've traveled so many places over the world that I know that this society that we live in, and here in, you know, America or Canada or whatnot, it's not the only way to live. And I personally believe, you know, as a YouTuber, as a teacher on YouTube and whatnot, I'd like for there to be a general consensus understanding that when you turn 18, college is not like, you know, the ultimate thing to do. There's more options than that. You know, you can self-educate, you can work, you can do trade schools, you can, you know, be somebody's apprentice. You could do, there's so many other options available. College is just one. You know, so I want to let people know that the world is wide open. The world is wide open. Whatever, you know, what you want to do, you can do. There are options, but it does take hard work. I'm not going to say you can be anything you want to be and you'll never fail. I'm saying it takes hard work, but it is possible, and there's multiple ways to get there. It's not just you know, it's not just a work your way up the ladder type of situation, because I think that didn't work for me, and I don't think it works for many people.
Amazing, man. Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview and, you know, share your wisdom. I mean, I'm learning. I'm just sitting here in awe listening to your story, and honestly, I have nothing but respect for you, man. You know, I think you really walked a bumpy road, and you finally came out the other side. Not that I'm saying that it's over yet, but, you know, I think you've really climbed high up the mountain, and I really respect that. And I definitely think that you're going to impact a lot of people in this world with your message. And with that being said, you know, guys, if you guys are loving what John is saying, John has incredible advice, knowledge, all sorts of things that you should definitely check out, which you can find over on his YouTube channel, which is John Crestani's channel. Subscribe. The link is at the top of the description, guys. Go over there, check it out, watch his fantastic content. And yeah, John, again, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure. It really has.
Hey, thank you. I admire what you do as well. I love the channel.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to go over and check out John Crestani's channel. and I'll see you in the next video. All right, guys, take care and have a great day. See ya!